Hi there, I'm Contessa Brewer. Thank you for joining us. We're following breaking news out of Las Vegas. A British Airways passenger plane burst into flames on the runway. As you can see from the live picture, the fire has been put out. We're told at this point there's just 2 minor injuries, but look at the photos that were taken when the plane was on fire. There were 172 people on board. 159 passengers, 13 crew members, and there are reports that this happened as the plane was getting ready to take off, bound for Gatwick in London, and obviously did not make it. Former NTSB chairman Mark Rosenker is on the phone with me now. Do you think that when you have a plane that's aborting takeoff, it's clear to the pilots that there was a problem, even if they didn't see flames or smoke at that point, Mark?
Well, we're going to be looking at the flight data recorder, the cockpit voice recorder. They will give us an indication of what the pilot knew, what the crew was able to understand, why they aborted this particular takeoff. Clearly, they made the right decision, and obviously they were able to get all of the passengers off. The slides worked properly. Everything seemed to go as how the training would be prescribed.
The firefighters apparently went out and doused this plane with fire retardant there in Las Vegas. But a lot of times, Mark, what we see is that the firefighters go out, the fire trucks go out when there's an incoming aircraft or something like that. It's not like they're just on the runways ready to go, is it normally? I mean, how long would it take to get the trucks out there when you see this kind of black plume of smoke?
Well, that's certainly going to be something that's going to be looked at in the investigation itself. But the fire departments that are on these airport grounds, they are trained to be on alert. They are available should an emergency come about, and clearly they did what was necessary to keep this aircraft from getting out of control, from exploding, and to getting the passengers. Clearly the crew got the passengers off the aircraft, but on the ground it was the first responders to help them get away from the airplane.
Okay, it looks like there are slides deployed there from the plane. It's a Boeing 777. What can you tell us about the aircraft?
This airplane has a very good safety record. It's been flying since 1995, millions and millions of safe miles. Of course, we've had some issues. Malaysia 370 was a 777, and of course, the one, the Malaysia 17 that was shot down was a 777. British Airways had an issue with one of their aircraft coming into Heathrow a number of years ago, about 10 years ago while I was still the chairman. That was an issue with an oil heat exchanger, and at that point we ended up making recommendations on a redesign of that particular area. But for the most part, these are absolutely incredibly safe aircraft. They'll be looking very carefully at what caused this and how they can make recommendations to prevent it from happening again.
On the screen right now, we have a tweet up from Jacob Steinberg, who posted, to give you an idea of what the fire was like, that's my mate Jez, who had just had a knee reconstruction on the run. Here's a case where if you see smoke and you feel heat from flames, of course you're going to book it, knee reconstruction or not. I mean, and this photo that shows the plane, it looks like really engulfed in flames there, is terrifying. We had a periscope up just a little bit ago, Mark, from people who were inside, it looked like inside the terminal, watching the plane on fire. But here's a statement now from British Airways saying safety is always our priority. We're looking after customers after a technical issue with the aircraft. Okay, so a technical issue. Not that I want to get that technical because, quite frankly, I'm a novice. What do I know about the technicalities of airplanes? But does that mean something mechanical was wrong?
Well, we don't know. But clearly, given the fact we have the cockpit voice recorders, the flight data recorders, we have the airplane itself, we're going to be able to look very carefully to do a forensic investigation to understand exactly what happened, why it happened, and how we can prevent it from happening again. That's the purpose of the NTSB investigations. The British will be involved, Boeing will be involved, the engine manufacturers will be involved. Clearly, we're going to understand what happened here since we have all of the parts that are important to an investigation like this.
Okay, just to reset, if folks are just joining us, this is a British Airways plane. It was flight 2276 heading from Las Vegas, from McCarran Airport, which a lot of people know because that's where you fly in and out if you're visiting Las Vegas. It was heading to Gatwick Airport near London. Now, it's a Boeing 777, a fairly modern aircraft, and Mark, you said one with a good safety record. And as it was taxiing toward takeoff, the engine apparently caught fire. It never took off. The pilots aborted takeoff. It looks like from the pictures, the slides were deployed and that passengers and crew were able to make it off of this plane. We're talking about 272 people on board this plane and only 2 minor injuries, it appears, from their evacuation of this airplane. The Clark County Fire Department says this fire was not the result of a crash, and it seems like from British Airways statement that there are some technical reasons why this fire may have happened. Mark, in addition to the data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, everybody made it off safely. They'll be able to talk to the pilots. What kind of information might the pilots be able to give them?
They're going to be able to share a great deal of information. I mean, what we have here is an example of absolutely incredible aviation training for the pilots, the cabin crew doing exactly what they're trained to do to safely get these passengers off as quickly and efficiently as they possibly can without any potential injury. This is a classic case of doing the right thing by virtually having the training that was necessary to make it happen properly.
And we have some video just of the moments as the passengers are evacuating from this plane. We saw the tweet. Here's the video that was posted on Twitter, just hitting what I have experienced today. Seriously scary stuff, referencing the flight number there, flight 2276. How long, Mark, just as an estimate and a rough idea, might it take to evacuate a plane like this 777?
Aircraft are certified to be able to get everyone off the aircraft with half of the doors closed in 90 seconds. Obviously, we don't know exactly how long it took this particular aircraft to evacuate.
Mark, I just want to interrupt you for 1 second.
Within the appropriate to get everybody off safely.
Okay, so the video that we're seeing here, I'm struck right away by the number of people who are rolling their suitcases behind them. Look at all of those roller boards that would have been up above. I thought when you evacuate a plane in an emergency, you're supposed to leave all your stuff on board.
Absolutely. That's what you're supposed to do. But what are you going to do if the people have something in their hands? Normally, you just make sure that if they're doing it quickly, they're going to be okay. But obviously, that's going to be a question of why these people were taking things that, in fact, they didn't have to have. The key is to save life, and you can only do this if, in fact, you're doing it quickly.
Look, I don't want to, look back with too much criticism because I wasn't on board the plane, and I don't know what that was like, but it's true in the videos that they show you at the beginning of any flight takeoff, it says that if there's an emergency evacuation, you leave your stuff on board. And they do that for a couple reasons, Mark. One is that they don't want you slowing down the process of evacuation, right, as you're getting off the plane.
The last thing you want to be doing when they tell you to evacuate, is to get up, get out, and move as quickly as you possibly can to the doors and jump onto those slides. The slides, I've done it before. They move very, very quickly. And the key is you're not going to be arguing with somebody to say drop your luggage because you'll clog up the stairway. At that point, what you want to do is just get them off, even if they're carrying something.
Is there ever any danger if someone's carrying, say a rolling suitcase, that it could puncture the slide?
Absolutely. That's why they ask any of the ladies to take off any high heels so that they don't end up hurting themselves or hurting the slide.
Yeah, don't think I haven't thought about that before when I choose my footwear going onto the plane, that what would happen if you end up having to ditch your shoes and then you're stuck out on a tarmac somewhere or, God forbid, a field and you don't have any shoes on. Okay, again, this is McCarran Airport in Las Vegas. A British Airways flight that was supposed to be going from Las Vegas to London was taxiing for takeoff. Apparently there was a fire, maybe an engine fire. British Airways is saying it was a technical problem. The pilots aborted takeoff and they evacuated this plane, got all 272 people off the plane, including the 13 crew members, with only 2 minor injuries there, which is truly remarkable. Mark, in your estimation, how long will it take to get some answers about why the fire started?
I think we'll get some preliminary information here within a week to 10 days. Clearly, the full investigation on these typical types of investigations would take anywhere from 9 months to 12 months. They've got everything there. They've got the aircraft. They've got the engines. They've got the cockpit voice recorder, the flight data recorder. They've got the pilots. They have everything they need to know. So this one could move a bit quicker. We don't know if this came from the engine. We don't know if it came from the actual hold inside of where the cargo might be. We'll know that relatively quickly. But again, they'll do an absolute meticulous, methodical investigation to make sure that we understand exactly what happened, how we can prevent it from happening again.
And Mark, just so the other folks who are getting ready to take flights, potentially on a 777, describe this aircraft in terms of safety.
This airplane is a very, very, very safe aircraft. There are about 1,200 of them flying around the world. It's a very popular aircraft for long-haul flying. I fly it all the time. I'll be flying it at the end of the month on my way to Germany and into England. So I'm very comfortable on this aircraft. It's a fine airplane. We'll find out what happened here. We'll make sure that it's not going to happen again.
Okay, and just to clarify, because I think I might have been getting my numbers confused, 172 people evacuated off this plane. The plane actually seats 275 people on that plane, but 172 total, including passengers and crew. Everybody off safely, only 2 minor injuries. And again, we wait for word about what sparked this fire in the first place. My thanks to Mark Rosenker, the former NTSB chairman, for this. And when we find out new details about what started the fire, we will bring that to you.